There he is.
What's up? What's up?
There he is. Yo,
Man,
you
man.
you don't know how tough those minutes are before you join in. You know that it's a couple of nervous moments, man. It's like, yo, I gotta add pops on. Is this gonna work? Is this gonna happen? I don't know.
Yo, my man played in front of tens of thousands of people and is nervous on the live.
Yo, I'm actually sweating.
See.
Nah, it's different, yo. I'm actually sweating because I'm like, yo, what if I don't get it right? What if I can't join in? Like, it just, it's a mess, man. It's a mess.
Yeah, we'll give it a little bit longer.
I'm getting better, though. I'm getting better.
Yeah, you learn. It's like time. What's up, Waleed? My guy, Waleed.
Oh, Waleed. Hey, story. Yo, Waleed got the best story. So I'm telling you.
My man, Eddie Caddy, another honorary Ghanaian that's here.
Eddie's not Ghanaian, man.
You and Eddie are both honorary Ghanaians. You're Ghanaians at heart.
Nah, that is true. But we claim Eddie. He doesn't know it yet. You know, we claim it. All South Sudanese, we claim Eddie.
Oh, V, what's up, baby?
We say Eddie's from the border. He's from
border.
From our border. Yeah, he's from our border. But what's good, man? We need to pick up where we ended up last time.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much we ended. I see Sandros, Philippe Sandros. That's my boy, man. So many people on, man. You know, I know you got a lot of messages of just, you know, how positive it is. A lot of stuff that we're talking about and how a lot of people relate to it. So I want to pick up, you know, kind of where we left off. We left off, I think, with the recruitment. You know, senior year.
Yeah.
High school, and basically you're getting ready to make your commitment, you know, to the school that you're going to go to, or the college, I should say, college, university that you're going to go to. Mm-hmm. And for you, obviously, you said, you know, it was different mindset. You were just, you know, deciding to do whether it's basketball or track, and then you really didn't know how long you're going to be in school, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, that's funny you say that, because it was never how long you're going to be in school. It was always, can I get to school? Like when I first came, my mindset was, man, just get a scholarship. Just find a way to pay for college so that your parents don't have to worry about another expense. And, you know, we'll talk about it as the episode goes on, but we'll talk about how my mindset ended up shifting probably halfway through my college career. And I started thinking bigger picture. And instead of my mindset being, you know, just getting through college, it was about how do I thrive and how do I end up being the best player I can be to make the most out of this basketball opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, it's different. I think I always try to tell people, you know, I like going back to if you think back, you know, going back to when before I decided to really actually be serious about basketball, it was when I was about 13, you know. So we're talking about, you know, 5 years later, 18 years old, I'm here making a decision. And it's 5 years, you know, prior to, do I really want to take this serious? Do I want to make this, you know, be a professional basketball player? Is this, you know, what I'm going to be? Mm-hmm. And it was 5 years, and here I am sitting down with my high school coach and, you know, family and friends trying to make a decision. Am I skipping college or am I going to the NBA? And if I was going to go to college, what school am I going to? And I remember my last 5 schools were obviously Duke, Virginia, Indiana, Fairfield, believe it or not. And
well, that's big bro. That makes sense.
Yeah, and Missouri. Quinn Snyder was at Missouri at the time.
One of my favorite coaches I ever played for.
Yeah, now Quinn Snyder's great, man. It's great. We still actually stay in touch. We'll always communicate since then, since I was in high school. Wow. Even though I didn't end up going to Missouri, we stayed in communication, which is great. But this is obviously how fast things change for me, you know. And I always tell people, we're going from, you know, being refugees in Egypt into coming into the UK, not speaking English, into you know, making basketball my decision. And then 5 years later, here I am deciding whether I want to skip college or, you know, be a pro at the age of 18. So life changed real fast, you know, and this is what the message that you and I were trying to say. We're all taking different routes, but things can change very quickly, you know, even for you. You know, going to college, and even that, you know, we spoke about high school and how we were going at it in track, but, you know, right away, I think I would say after your freshman year in college, you knew exactly, you know, what you wanted to do. Obviously you did, but you knew that you had a chance.
That's funny you say that. I think it hadn't come at that point yet for me. My junior and my brother speaks about it often, and I didn't know this until later on in my career that this was what it was. I remember first time I'd ever drilled or did any type of like workout was with my big brother, my junior going into my senior year. And I'd never done an individual workout before. I didn't know what any of that kind of stuff was. Like, that just wasn't how I was thinking. So we're doing it, and he's showing me all these holes in my game. And IT, what's up? Showing me the holes that I got in my game. And I'm like, man, I'm nowhere near a good basketball player. If I can't make a left hand layup or I can't dunk off the right foot, like, what am I gonna do? And I just remember feeling like he was disappointed. But then the next day we came back and I was better than I was the day before, and we just kept building and building. And I think you can relate to this too. We had brothers who luckily up until at least the Division I college process had gone through it. So a lot of my recruitment process came from my big brother. He had done it when he went to JUCO, went to Washington State. So he knew the process and could kind of guide me through what I was looking for. But mind you, this is 2001, 2002. Cell phones are not that prominent. I didn't have one. I had a house phone that I could only use up until 6 p.m. The person I lived with was a little different, and so he was like, you can't use my house phone after 6 p.m. But mind you, college coaches are calling me.
Yeah.
And I got to speak to my brother, and he was overseas, so half the time difference messed us up. So he'd call me. It'd probably be 1 a.m. in France, but it's 7 p.m. here. But it's still past the time I'm allowed to talk on the phone. So there would be I'd be on the phone, and the guy I live with would just come and hang the phone up. So I just had I had no clue of what was going on. I'd tell him, hey, St. Joe's, GW, what's it called? LaSalle, they called and they was like, I think they're offering me a scholarship. You know, what do I do? And he would tell me what to look for and like opportunity, and like I didn't have to go to a big school. And I never knew that as a kid. I just thought I needed to go somewhere big so that I could catch up, keep up, and then hopefully one day be good at that school. But it was never a situation where I knew that GW would turn into what it ended up being. And like you said, that pivot for me, my freshman year, all I wanted to do was start and have an opportunity to play. All I wanted to do was start. And I think we played UConn the first game, and I came off the bench after Mecca and Ben Gordon, and even Mecca and Ben Gordon destroyed us. They won the national championship that year. I started from that day forward. I remember starting from that day forward, and I'm going to get to my sophomore year where I was like, okay, I want to start as a freshman. I did that. My sophomore year, I want to be one of the best players in the Atlantic 10. Luckily, or God willing, I was able to be named the most improved player in the A10. And I remember sitting back one day thinking, man, literally anything you put your mind to, any goal that you set, anything you write down, you've been able to achieve it. Why not set your goals a little higher? And that's what I started doing. And I was like, all right, I'm one of the best players in the conference now. How far can you take this? Can you be one of the best players in the country? And then, you know, my junior year went, and it's funny because I remember we spoke about this before. My junior year, I was like, all right, try to be one of the best players in the country. I don't know how you're going to do it, but do it. I remember we beat Michigan State and Maryland on consecutive days. And literally, I come back to campus and somebody asked me, are you coming back to school? And I'm like, I'm already on campus. What are y'all talking about? I'm already here. It's like, no, dummy. We're talking about, are you gonna come back to school? Because people are thinking you're gonna end the draft.
Yeah.
And that was the craziest thing I'd ever heard to date, because not one person had ever brought that conversation up with me. Me and the NBA was never supposed to happen. In my mind, or for what I knew, I wasn't very good in London. I wasn't great in high school. I had barely made it to UW. Now all of a sudden, you're talking about I have a chance to go to the NBA, and I remember us having a conversation. But I'll let you take over from there.
Yeah, no, it's really it's crazy how, you know, it's the same goal but different path. Because I remember for me, it really didn't hit me in high school, the fact that, you know, being ranked so high and coming into the U.S. really just making that decision that, okay, I'm going to play basketball. This is it. And all of a sudden you come in and there's this ranking system, and your competitive nature just kind of just takes over, where you're concerned about it, but at the same time you want to see how much better you could get every day. And for me, everything just kept rolling. It was like, okay, the word is getting out. Who's this kid? Mm-hmm. In the middle of nowhere, Blair Academy. You know, it was my coach's first year. When I got there, Royale was there.
That was Coach Montagna's first year?
It was his first year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so we got there at the same time, and everything just kind of took over. All of a sudden, people are talking about us, news articles, and the rankings started coming. And then before you know it, it was Luol Deng, you know, second best player in the nation. And it's like, you know, Slam magazine. And LeBron decided that he's not even, you know, entertaining colleges. So right away, it was, you know, every school. And things changed real quick, because here you are now, you're getting letters. You're being recruited by everyone. Everywhere you go, you're kind of being protected. People are telling you how great you are, but you don't want to hear it. And it just keeps going. And then all of a sudden comes junior year, and you're visiting schools. And I remember every school that recruited me, except for Duke, every school that recruited me sent me a jet, a private jet. And now imagine that, you know, 16, 17-year-old, you're being recruited by every school, pretty much like, you know, anything you could think of. You're showing up, people are waiting in campus. There's posters within the campus that you're there. You know, your head starts to blow up. You start to think, you know, this is it. You know, you're everything. Like, but for me, it was never that. For me, it was still just, how good can I be? How good can I get? And I remember every school I went to. I remember I visited Indiana with Charlie. Me and Charlie visited Indiana together. And I remember when I was recruited, Coach K actually flew all the way to London to meet with my parents. And, you know, my dad loved Coach K. He just loved Coach K so much and had so much respect for him, for even flying all the way to London to sit down with him. Mm-hmm. And I remember after going to Indiana, I came back and I told my high school coach, I'm not visiting Duke. And he's like, you can't do that. And I said, no, I think I made up my mind. Me and Charlie are going to go to Indiana together. And this is actually, to take the story back, we're sitting on the table with the Indiana staff and Charlie, me and Charlie are sitting there. And Charlie, if you know Charlie Villanueva, just always joking, like always got something up his sleeve, right? So Charlie goes, well, you know, I'm going wherever Luol goes. If Luol comes here, I'm coming here. And I'm sitting there like, yo, we ain't even talk about this. Like, when did you make up this? And he's like, nah. And this is Charlie trying to take the pressure off of him, right? So he's like, yo, if Luol comes here, I'm coming here. So I'm thinking, me and Charlie, the same team, high school roommates. We could go to college and be roommates and, you know, actually, you know, do this thing together. And I remember going back and I told my high school coach, yo, cancel my Duke visit. I'm not going. He's like, no, you have to go. I'm like, I'm not going. He's like, your dad said you have to go. So I'm talking to my dad, and my dad's like, yo, they flew all the way to London. You have to go. So I'm like, okay, I'll go visit Duke. At that time, honestly, I was just like, okay, I'll just go visit Duke to be nice, right? Duke is the only school that put me on regular plane, right? Not even an exit row. You know how it is with the legs.
They gave
like,
man a middle seat.
You have no idea how many times I faked it on a flight that I can't fit on my seat just so I can switch seats. But look, so I get on a plane and I'm like, yo, I went private jet everywhere. Like, who's this? Like, what am I about to get in this? Not even an exit row. I'm about to sit in the middle seat, you know. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, man, this is just a waste of time. Like, why am I doing this? I just, you know, let's just get it done with. So I go to school, and the guy, my host, is Chris Duhon, right? Out of all people, it's Chris Duhon. Now, Chris Duhon is like one of the nicest people to be around, man. There's no way you're around Chris Duhon and you're not having a good time. Just one of the nicest people. We just, you know, so
cool
Chris, yeah, so Chris is hosting me, and I'm going through, you know, the school, and I'm just like, yo, it makes sense. You know, I'm like, I could come in here, we could get a chance to win it all. This is what I always wanted. This is why I left home. This is it, you know. And I'm sitting down, and Coach K's like, listen, all our games are on TV. This is how I'm going to use you. This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to have a chance to do. And everything that was, you know, given to me or provided to me went out the window. All I could think about was the opportunity that, you know, I could do right now. Like, this is Duke. I could make it happen here. You know, he's promising me this. So I went with it. So my mind has changed, you know. So I made up my mind, and I was like, you know, that's it. I'm going to Duke. And before I left that campus, I had made my decision, but I couldn't tell him. You know, and I remember flying back. And I told
flying
my coach,
flying back on Spirit Airlines.
Yeah, but I didn't care. I was just, I was just thinking like, yo, this is it. It's gonna happen, right? So I go back in school, and I told my coach, yo, hold on, let me show you this. Like, seriously, I'm sorry to cut live, but look at this thing outside. Can you see it?
What's that? Is that a gecko? Oh, it's a lizard.
Yeah, you see that?
Man.
Bro, I've been trying to catch. I'm sorry to cut the line. I've been trying to catch that thing for like, what the? Yo, I seen that since it was a baby, bro. I seen it grow. It's a grown man now.
Them iguanas, them things can grow to they can get big. They get big. I don't know if they bite, but I'm not trying to find out.
Bro, it walks around. It runs my house, you know.
Man's inside. You make sure you're
outside of all his boys. There's a tower. There's outside of like 3 of them. I can't go out there. I'm gonna get it though. But now I'm sorry. Like, yo. So anyway, so I made up my mind. It's Duke. It made sense. It's why I left home. This is what I'm going for. Like that was it for me. But I went back and just thanked my coach, because I was ready to jump the gun, because I just felt good about something that was just for me and not seeing the bigger picture. You know what I mean?
Man, you know what's funny? And my guy NBA Live mentioned it, and I know my brother's gonna laugh at this. Speaking of levels, he said everybody but Duke sent him a private jet. I had GW, LaSalle, St. Joe's, Cleveland State, and Boston College were my last 5 schools. One of the schools that weren't in my top 5, they knew that my older brother was going to help me make my decision. So we was at this camp, and there was a couple schools that were trying to recruit me early. And speaking of the levels of the extent schools to go to, they're sending you private jets. I remember this college coach, who's going to remain nameless, went to grab my brother and was like, yo, take these T-shirts, right? Take these T-shirts and slide them to Pops, and then let us know what he thinks after that. And my brother came over here with like the face. I'm like, yo, what's wrong? And he was like, they wanted me to give you these shirts. And it was like 2 medium shirts from their camp. And they were sliding it to me like they had just given me a bag of money or something. And I was like, wait, my man's getting private jet sent to him, and y'all over here giving me 2 small T-shirts? And after that, I was like, yo, I got to get my game up. I got to work on my game. This has to change. This has to change. They give me T-shirts that didn't even fit. And so that's the experience for me. Like, again, I use it as motivation. I'm seeing I'm seeing that. Like, we don't have phones. We don't really have email. We're not really like engaging like that. So the only way I can keep up and hear about you is reading the Slam magazine. And I'm like, yo, he's a #2 player in the country. I was like, man, what did I miss? What is going on? I was like, I got to figure this out, man. But again, it was never hate. I just always try to figure out, how do I get to his level? How do I figure how to get my game to that level so that I can get private jets being sent my way or something. Man, they didn't even send me a ticket. I think one of them I had to drive there myself. And I told you, like, and speaking of the different levels, I get to I'm going through the process, and damn, I lost my train of thought. I just got a message that said Boris Johnson's in intensive care. Wow. Damn, lost my train of thought. Anyway, but yeah, so for me, it was just inspiring and funny to see that, you know, my boys over here, and we're having these two totally different experiences. It's still one and the same, but it's still two ends of the spectrum. And you're going into Duke thinking, look what you can do. You're going to play on TV every night. We were the worst team in the Atlantic 10 my freshman year. And I wasn't even one of the top players on the worst team in the Atlantic 10. So I don't know how, but my brother, my cousin Eugene, speaking to them, like, they were always like, man, if you keep doing this and keep working at it, you have a chance to play after school. Mo, what's up? I kept working. And then I got to GW. Like I said, my sophomore year, I was the best player. I was the most improved player in the Atlantic 10. And then going into my junior year, we beat Michigan State and Maryland. And now all of a sudden, I'm thinking like you. What's going to happen after this junior year? Am I going to come back to school? Am I going to go to the NBA? And this is something I had never a thought and a conversation with myself that I never had. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that Kojo told me, he was like, yo, I knew you was going to the NBA as going into your senior year. I was like, what? I didn't even know that. Like, how can you honestly say to me that you knew I had the talent or the ability to go to the NBA when I could never see it? Yeah. And like, when he tells me what he saw, like, he would tell me to do something, and I would have added it to my game 2 days later. But I didn't know this until I think
you're a quick learner. Yeah, you're a quick learner.
I say that about a lot of I say about African players, which we'll talk about at another time. But if you throw them or thrust them into an element that they're not used to, it's going to be fight or flight. You're either going to figure it out or it's not meant for you. And for a lot of us, a lot of African players or players that are put into situations, you just put them in a situation to succeed and thrive, they'll do the rest. And that's how I've looked at life. I've never blamed anything on my agent, never blamed anything on anybody else other than the fact that if I'm put in a position to succeed and play and I don't do it, that was on me. And that's how I looked at it, you know? Yeah, no, you found ways of just turning whatever seems to be negative or whatever that can knock you back, you seem to kind of, push you through it. So that's, not everyone could say that. Not everyone has that, bro. It just sometimes you just have it naturally. I think, with me, the thing was I never wanted to be satisfied with just being there. I just never wanted that. I just never wanted to be. I always feared that, being when I was in London, I didn't want to be the kid who was, he was so good when he was young. Then when I got to Blair, I pushed myself to be, okay, he's not from here, but he could play. He's ranked the highest. I really wanted that, and it wasn't just always just for me. I always wanted it to go back to where I came from. So
I always made it bigger than me so it lasts, you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm just satisfied. I got what I wanted, that's it. And you know, I did it at every level. When I got to Duke, I know at the time I was, you know, the guy everyone was talking about. So I knew I couldn't come to Duke and just, I've seen players in the past go to college and go there and kind of lose track or forget what they want to do, you know. And I remember when I got to Duke right away, I just took the same routine. You know, remember I was in a boarding school. I had my classes were very similar to college, where, you know, some days I had 2 classes, some days I had, you know, 4 classes, some days I had 1 class. So I was used to that kind of schedule. And right away I just went and I asked for the code for the gym as soon as I got to Duke. In between classes, I was going to the gym while everyone else was going back to the dorms or doing whatever. I was going from class right to the gym, getting my shots up. From the gym to my next class, right back to the gym to working on my ball handling. From the gym right to the class to going back to the dorm to coming back at night and getting shots up. And I just had one track in my mind. I was just like, I'm not about to be the guy you just used to talk about. I can't let that happen, you know? And before you know it, college season starts. And what helped me a lot, going to Blair Academy, it really helped me with classes and what I needed to get done. As you know, like high school is so different than college, but I was in a boarding school, so I was already kind of ready for that kind of lifestyle. You know, so when I got to college, it was nothing but it was basketball. And now I'm in it. You know, stadium full, Duke fans everywhere. You're walking in campus, you know, you're the man. They love you. Everyone is nice to you. And you got to find a way at just blocking all that out, knowing that, you know, all this is because you're a basketball player. Nobody really knows you as a person. You know, you don't really have a voice yet. All you got to do is just hoop. And if that's gone, you're gone. You know, whether people like to admit it or not, if that's gone, you're forgotten. You know what I mean? And the mission and the goal is you have people recruiting you every day and finding out everything about you. And I know it's a lot harder now. Now you're recruiting a kid, you could go to their social media and tell a lot about their work ethic and what they do and all that, you know? So that's the message that I always send to people. You know, you got to keep the same mindset no matter what you're given. Whatever your goal is, you can't lose track of just thinking that you succeeded already, you know, and you're already thinking that you made it, but you haven't yet. You know, you got to stick with what got you there and keep doing it every day.
That's crazy you say that, because you know, speaking about balancing school and basketball and then college rankings and your mentality, like that didn't dawn on me. That whole mindset didn't dawn on me until I realized life after college was a thing when it came to basketball. Going into GW, I was just trying to play on that team. Then my sophomore year, I was just trying to be a better player on that team. Then all of a sudden, I have to start shifting my mindset to being like, oh, you can play professional basketball. Then all of a sudden, they're looking at me as an NBA player. So it went from not being very good at basketball to all of a sudden, and my close friend Kenny from London said it to me during, you know, my induction. He said, you got to think about it. Like, we came to this country 98, 99, and by 2000, you know, 4 or 5, I was considered an NBA player. And it just put my whole life in perspective, because I was like, people ask me, how did you achieve it? What did you do? It's like, I just worked. Like, literally, you put your mind to something, you can achieve it and block everything out. Like you said, although it was a different level, yes, my sophomore year, I was big man on campus. I was this, we had a little hype. Then going into my junior year, we was on ESPN. We had a couple games. We was ranked in the country. And I tell my parents I want to enter the draft. And that's a great question, Boobs. I'm gonna get to that later. My parents, they're big on education. And so they know I'm going to school over here, and then all of a sudden I call them and tell them, hey, I want to enter the draft to go back to the NBA. And they're like, no, you got to get your degree. So I got to figure out how to balance school and basketball at the same time. Like, how did you manage to do that? Especially my junior year, we was literally top 15 in the country. First time we had been ranked in God knows how many years. And I was like a featured player on that team. And I'm trying to figure out how do I juggle this? I've never had this before. I wasn't even good at basketball. And now all of a sudden, nationally, people are recognizing who I am, who the team is, and it's new. And I lie to you not. I swear to God. I referred to just how you were going about things, being All-American, getting recruited, and going to the NBA. And I remember us catching up and asking you about what I should do, and you tell me, if you're gonna make a decision, jump in with both feet and just be 100% with it. Whatever you do, be a man and jump in with both feet. And I remember what you said about you could be the man everybody's talking about. You can have all this notoriety and fame, but if you're focused and you're able to focus in on your game and not let outside influences mess you up, then that'll allow you to not let that stuff affect you. Because if you're a kid, you're a teenager, and that kind of stuff happens to you, it's going to get to your head at some point. But you have to figure out how humble you can be and how you can embrace it. And I remember watching you, how you embraced it, and I was like, I'm not even on his level. I need to handle it just as good, if not better, than he does, because he's down to earth and humble. How could I handle it any other way? And I'm not even getting the same type of attention. So that just put me in perspective and let me understand how to handle that kind of stuff. But it was all new to me. But again, it was just going back to my core beliefs. What I learned from my parents, my family, and from Joe about how to handle stuff like that. So. Yeah. That's just the only way I can implement it. But to talk about, I know you only did 1 year, in school, but speak about your experience with the tournament and March Madness and how that went.
Man, I'm gonna, I'll answer that question. There's so many good questions I'm seeing, man. I know some people are asking about how do you take that mindset and apply it to business. And I know we said we have a bunch of, episodes, so we're gonna come to that. I'm sorry, I don't want to jump into that now, but it's really important that at some point we kind of tell people, or I tell my side, Pops obviously tells his side, about how, this whole mindset and this whole upbringing and everything helps you with the business side of, handling, things differently than obviously just going out and physically, trying to get them done. So we'll talk about that more as we go on. But to answer your question, Pops, just to go back to, the decision when I was 13 and just saying, okay, I'm going to go to the U.S. and, basketball is it. This is what I want to do. First, it was, am I good enough to play in high school in the U.S.? Then it went from, okay, I am good enough to play high school in the U.S. Am I going college or am I going pro? And this jump happened in 5 years. And it was a decision that I had to make, and it wasn't an easy decision. Believe it or not, you struggle so much just through life growing up that all you think about is just, getting there. But I knew that's not how I wanted to get there. I wanted to learn more. I wasn't ready. When that time came, it was like, okay, here I have an opportunity of what I've been dreaming of, or go to school for 1 more year. I'm a step away, but anything could go wrong, So made that decision, felt good about it. I was happy to be at Duke. And obviously we had an amazing year. We had such a good team. The class before me was, arguably the best Duke recruiting class of all time. When you talk about guys like J.J. Redick, Sheldon Williams, Sean, Shavlik Randolph, Michael Thompson, all those guys went to Duke all together at the same time. So that was like one of the best recruiting class. So for me jumping in, I'm like, we're going to have a good year. There's no doubt, and I get to school and I'm loving it. We're winning. We get to the Final Four. And believe it or not, when I first got to Blair Academy, remember I said my roommate was Charlie. And me and Charlie always spoke about just the fact that, you know, playing pros as, you know, as our job, and just, you know, all these guys we talk about all the time in the Final Four, watching March Madness every year together, while we had Blair talking about it and all that. And in the Final Four, I meet Charlie. We run into UConn. You know, we run into UConn, and it was, you know, it was such a hard game to lose. Not only did my brother go to UConn and leave UConn, but also Charlie goes to UConn. I was so close to UConn. I knew the whole staff and everything. It was such a tough game for me, and we lost, you know. And right away, as soon as we lost, my mindset was, man, I gotta come back to school and win it. You know, that was my first thing. I got to come back to school and win it. I don't care what. I'm coming back. I'm going to win.
But you beat UConn in that game, though, right? Y'all beat UConn, right?
Really? Yeah. You doing this on purpose?
No, I'm not even being funny. You played well.
Nah,
you played well in the game.
Yeah, nah, you doing this on purpose.
I'm not even being funny, I swear. No,
we lost yesterday. We lost to UConn. UConn won it that year.
Did they win it 2 years in a row?
Is this where we're going with this? I thought this is the new. I thought this is a UConn thing. I thought they would talk about. Before you know it, Charlie's gonna pop in here and remind me again.
No. What I'm saying was, I remember watching the game because I'm like, yo, my man is on the biggest stage, and quiet as kept, you killed Charlie. I remember that, and you played well. I just didn't remember who won the game.
Nah, they won the game, Pops. They won. Thanks a lot, man. But yeah, I don't know.
Hey man, when you lose, never lose the lesson.
And then the year after that, Carolina won it. But we're gonna jump back to so now, but it hurts, man. But anyway, so I go back. I'm like, yo, I gotta go back. I'm not ready to leave. I want to go back. And I remember, believe it or not, and I tell people this, Final Four was my first time my dad watching me play basketball. You know, now my dad is in a stadium with all these fans going crazy, everyone cheering my name, everything. And my dad's like, wow, this is insane. This is crazy, you know. And right away, I'm caught up in, I got to make a decision, am I coming back or not, you know. And believe it or not, my whole mindset was I'm coming back to Duke for the longest. You know, I'm coming back to Duke. And people are like, yo, are you crazy? You know, your whole life you've been talking about this is a dream. You wanted to be in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Why are you not going? And I'm like, I have unfinished business. I just felt like I got to come back and finish what I got to do it. But now I'm living a reality where I'm getting caught up in thinking that I'm Superman. Nothing is going to happen. Everything is going to work out how it did in the past. And I had to kind of wake up. I had to be like, yo, you know, a lot of things went the right way. You're blessed. I have an opportunity to change things for my family. You know, in a way, when you think about it, everyone talks about, yo, you're jumping in, you want money, you want this. It's all true, but at the same time, you forget that the way we're driven is to look out for our family, to look out for, you know, people that have been there for us. And the best way you know it is by doing what you do, being so good at what you do that you're getting paid for it, not just doing it. You know, so my whole mindset changed from just playing basketball for me and the good time I'm having in college and all that into I got to keep doing this while I'm taking care of my family. You know, I don't care what anyone says. That's the bottom line of it, right? So we go, me and Adam, right? I go visit my boy Adam Andre, and we in Muhlenberg. I'm spending a week in his college. Me and Adam, we drove from Duke all the way to Muhlenberg. I get on the phone and I tell my coach, my high school coach, yo, I'm going to do one more year. I'm going to do one more year at Duke. I want to get back to the Final Four. I'm going to do one more year. Not thinking anything, just talking to my coach. My coach went and talked to Coach K and the Duke and told him that I'm coming back, right? So I didn't tell my coach anything. I just shared it with him. So I get back on, we're driving from Jersey all the way to North Carolina. On our drive, I'm up. At the time, by the way, even when I was drafted, I never had a driver's license. We're going to get to that story later, but I never drove.
Me either. I didn't drive my first car until I got to the NBA.
Yeah, me too. So we're in a car. My boy Adam is driving. Then they're taking turns. So when Adam is driving, you know, I'm thinking, and it just hit me. I'm like, I got to leave. What am I doing? I got to go. You know, this is like 4 hours into the drive. It just middle of the night. It just hit me and like, I'm gone. What am I thinking? Like, this is it. I'm done. I last year in high school, I said I'm going to college. Now I'm in college. I'm trying to go back to school. What am I doing? You know, here's my dream. I'm wasting time. As much as, you know, I love Duke, I got to do this now. You know what I mean? And I made up my mind. So I show up at Duke and I pull up and I have a meeting with all the coaches. And I walked in and they thought I was staying. And this was the hardest thing I ever. And, you know, everyone is celebrating. And I had to sit down and I'm like, I changed my mind and during the drive. They're like, what you mean you changed your mind? It's like, I just changed my mind. I'm leaving. And that's where, and from there, that's where, you know, the decision to leave and become a pro, that's really how I made my decision on the drive from New Jersey to North Carolina.
That's insane. That's funny you say that because so funny story. I'm gonna get back to my decision to my process real quick because we're gonna get to some questions from people. I remember I'm going through the recruitment process. I get to GW and they find out that you and I are close. My coach finds out because my coach from GW came from UConn, so he coached at Joe, and he was like, "Look, there's a relationship there. I always felt like his brother was going to be good, and I really wanted to coach him." And he was like, "We have to get him to GW." I said, "What?" I said, "We got to get Lou to GW." I was like, "Coach," and this is actually my response. I'm like, "Coach, I don't think you understand. His top two, his decision is Duke, maybe another school, and the NBA. Duke, Indiana, and the NBA. And you want GW to come on to come into play? I'm not even gonna. I think I told you the story for the first time like a little while ago, but I was like, "There's no way we're gonna get him on campus," and I can't even ask him with a straight face, "Come on campus," and try, because they really thought if we got him on campus, he was gonna come. So there was that. I'm not related to James. So okay, so yeah, you see this.
Now, so we should get to some questions, huh?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we'll definitely get some questions because I can talk about my process about the NBA start off the next one because it does lead right into me going to straight to the league. So we'll talk about that process. Let's look at what we got here. It's a good one. I think it's from my guy Alan. How supportive were your parents? I know you said your parents didn't see you play until you went to the Final Four?
Well, my dad saw me in the Final Four. My mom's first game was in the NBA when I was playing my first game against New Jersey Nets. Yeah,
that's crazy. For me, my parents had never seen me play until I think it was mid-junior year, and I was already thinking about going to the NBA myself. Never in their life had they ever seen me play basketball until I was 20 years old. And so they were supportive about me just being successful in life. They wanted to make sure I had my education. They wanted to make sure whatever I did, I put, you know, the proper work ethic behind it. But we didn't have, I could say we, because I'm sure it's the same for you. We didn't have the experience of growing up, your dad driving you to an AAU tournament and cussing you out on the way home and building you back up. Like, we didn't have that. Literally, I would play an AAU tournament, I would just go home. I would talk to my brother every so often, and he would. That's the fatherly figure that I had in regards to basketball. So my parents, they were supportive to as much as they could have been.
No, they were definitely supportive, just differently. Not you know, showing up to the games and stuff, but they made sure they were at school meetings. They didn't miss that one.
Yeah, I told you they were there for that, man. They were there for that.
Parents' Day. My dad couldn't wait for Parents' Day.
Nah, I used to lie, man. I used to tell them we didn't have it this year, and I don't think my parents ever went to a parent-teacher conference when I was in London. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
Nah,
I'm not. I've seen that movie, and it doesn't end well for this brother. So I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. My dad used to go knowing damn well what he's gonna hear, and just act surprised the whole time. Nah, that's not my son. Nah. And he knows damn well. He knows exactly what he's gonna hear. He just go in, sit down, and he just looks at me the whole time like.
Oh man, I got some horror stories about that, but that's a whole other thing. Like, what we got next? Kieran Achara. I got a name for him that rhymes with banker, but he said, "Do you think it's harder to stay humble in the social media era, in this day and age? Do you think it's harder to stay humble in this social media era?"
It definitely is. I think. It's funny. Even my last few years in the NBA, man, it's something that I always said this. I used to play the game, and you would go home and listen to the commentators. Obviously, fans could yell whatever they want to yell from the stands. But the only people that were telling me, how great I was the people that I allow in. So. Family, close friends, coaches that I've had, whether it's my high school coach, my college coach, AU coach, people that understood my game, understood the game. But, the praises and the criticism started, I always blocked them out. I never really, got a chance to let anyone to come close to me to lead me in a way where they don't even know me. It didn't matter to me, right? But now you got, you could be in high school talking about being, #1 high school player or being recruited by everyone. Imagine the social media if that was today. It takes really a special kid to block those things out. Or you're just so good that you don't block them out, but somehow it affects your personality or who you are as a person. I just really think it's very hard that if you don't have close people in your life that could tell you and keep you humble, tell you right from wrong and keep you humble. When you're good at something, everyone is going to kiss your ass. And you might not think it affects one thing because you're so good at it, but it might affect the way you treat people. It might affect the way you carry yourself. So, definitely, it just affects people in general. I wouldn't just say, basketball players, just people in general are affected by social media. Whether it's good or bad, it affects them,
Yeah, man. It's to piggyback off your point about your support system and the people around you. Luckily, I guess coming from humble beginnings, the people who I kept close to me and whose opinion I valued, they would never allow me to allow stuff like that to get to my head. Like, I remember seeing Barack Obama speak at a tech conference, and people were like, "Why is Barack Obama speaking at a tech conference? What does he have to do with tech?" And by the end of his speech, like, the crowd was just like in awe of what he said. And he basically was saying he played basketball at a young age, and he knew at a young age that he wasn't very good or just wasn't going to make it to the NBA or even college. So he had a high sense of self-awareness. And I think in regards to social media and letting stuff get to your head, you have to have a level of self-awareness and humility to coincide with it, to not allow those type of outside influences get to you. It can easily affect you, especially if you're a kid. But, knowing my siblings and my parents, if I were to ever come home on my high horse thinking I did something, I'd get slapped by every single person in that room.
Yeah.
And so it's all about the support system. But
that's good. I got one good one from Justin. Justin asked, what was the one humbling experience in the NBA? So I'll let you go first, Pops. Like, what was the one? I think he might be talking about on the court. I don't know if
on the court. I think he's talking about on the court.
Talking in general.
I think he's talking about on the court. Yeah, I guess we can answer that one now. Bloody hell! I remember I get to Toronto and I get caught up from the G League, so I'm kind of feeling myself, smelling myself, and then we play the Charlotte Hornets. And I remember I was in the rotation playing a lot, and my assignment was Boris Diaw. And I think not a lot of people remember Boris Diaw when he was in Atlanta or Phoenix. Like before he had gained a little bit of weight and before he had changed his game, he was like this skilled, like halfway athletic, high basketball IQ type player. When I'm getting ready to play against him, he's 45, 50 pounds heavier. Me being an athlete and a defender, I was like, man, I'm about to kill this dude. They was like, look, don't let him go right. He's going to go right. I was like, man, he's not going anywhere. We get into the game. He scores 10 straight points on me. I'm talking, he was looking left, going right. He was crossing over, spin moves, layup, and I literally looked at the bench like, I don't know. I don't even know what to do, coach. Like, he's busting my ass. Like, what you want me to do? He's busting my ass. And after that, I just went, never judge a book by its cover, especially in the NBA. And he burst out, woke me up. I learned my lesson with him.
Yeah. Now, I got a few, but the one story that sticks out of my mind, obviously, and you could see why it's really about LeBron and why, he's still playing at the level he's playing at today. I remember during the Olympics, we had to do a McDonald's commercial, me and LeBron. And LeBron,
during the Olympics,
right before the Olympics.
Oh, did they lose my number?
Huh?
You said you and LeBron had to do a McDonald's commercial. I mean, I don't really eat McDonald's, but I don't remember getting that call.
They messaged me to send it to you, but at the time I lost your contact. But
I was going to tell you, our rooms were right opposite each other during the Olympics. So
this was right before you changed your number. So I was texting your old number a couple times. I don't know what happened, but
you sound like them light-skinned girls in high school again, dog. You sounded like the girl I was supposed to go to the prom with.
You're about to get someone mad. I ain't going that route. Listen, I ain't going that route. I don't know anything. I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
Stupid. Go ahead.
I remember we're doing a McDonald's commercial, and we had a trailer. Each of us, they bought us a trailer, and I'm like, I'm doing a McDonald's commercial.
Levels.
So we're doing a commercial, and every now and then we take a break and we go back to our little trailer, right? So I go in there. My brother came with me. So it was me and Aquay. We're in there. I will go back to the trailer, and it's like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then they'll call us back, and then we'll go back, And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, I wonder what are they doing? Like I'm over here bored. This is like hours and hours of shooting. I'm over here bored. I'm like, what's LeBron doing in his trailer? Like, what's going on? So I'm like, man, I'm just going to walk over there, just talk to them, whatever. So I'll go over there. LeBron got a whole gym set up, and we're doing a commercial. This guy got dumbbells. He got bands. He's working on his body. He got someone, putting his body back after, like, we're walking, we're doing the commercial, we're dribbling, doing all this stuff, talking. I'm like, I left that day, honestly, and I work hard. Like, I know I work hard, but I'm just like, this guy works smart, and that was the whole difference. Like, I would get up in the morning and get my work in, but he took every opportunity he got to make himself better while he's doing something else, and it takes you to a different level of just, I thought I was working so hard. And this is what I always tell kids: as hard as you're working, you could always learn from somebody else and apply it to your game. And after that, I remember after seeing LeBron do that, I went out, I got a trainer, I got someone that was there all the time. I was always working on my body. Every chance that I got, I would go to the gym. When my friends came and visit me, I had a gym near the house that we would go to. And that's where I learned it from. I didn't see it that way, but that honestly is the difference between being an all-star or a two-time all-star or being a 10 to 15-time all-star. You might, or even making it to the NBA, you might have the talent. You might not just understand what it takes in terms of, work and what you need for yourself. And I always say, learn from others, take it, apply it to yourself, and see if it fits you, And I know we're running late. Oh, we're not running late, but we got 5 minutes left, Pops. If you got anything you want to say now, throw it out there. I know we're going to come back again with the 4th episode, and I think next one we're going to talk about being a pro, obviously, and what you have to do to get to the NBA and stick in the NBA.
Yeah, man. I think, I guess as these go on, like, we get more and more great questions and more, stuff that we should address. So again, everybody who asked a question, trust me when I say we got people writing them down. We're going to address them. We're going to come back and talk about them. We're going to make sure we get our shout outs in. Shout out to Kieran, my brothers, sisters, fans in Turkey. Shout out to Ghana, the kids in Ghana watching, Africa in general, I should say. I saw a lot of questions, people saying, when are we going to build more courts or bring more stuff to Africa? You're talking to, in regards to Lou, you're talking to somebody who's probably mindset is to do more in Africa than anywhere else on this planet. So anything it's definitely coming there. Myself, we're doing stuff in Ghana too. So we're going to keep things going. And again, for the next episode, feel free to reach out and send us questions. We'll definitely have every single question somebody's answered up until this point. And I think the last episode is we're going to do random stories and questions. So trust me, if we didn't answer your question today, it may not have been pertaining to today's topic, or we just didn't have time to get to it. So we're definitely going to address those questions and get back to it. We appreciate everybody coming. Love you guys, and we're just going to keep this going. Bo to the
no, you said it.
N17 in the building. N17.
Yeah, you said it. Listen, you said it all, man. You said it all. Can't wait to see everyone. Shout out to everyone that showed up. Aliye, Christelle, I see you. Shout out. Seriously, everyone. Thank you so much. We're going to get back to the next episode. We're going to answer all the questions. And, quick message to all, the light-skinned girls in high school that didn't reach out to Pops. Y'all messed up, man. But anyway, all right, everyone take care. See y'all next time.
All right, man. Be safe.
All right, peace.